Black builders was the first group of black builders who come together. Obviously, you got through Yana, who come together and basically built the houses from scratch. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to be putting out this video as well again on our network. So do watch our network. We are going to be celebrating the rich generation continually, but we're going to have some specialized footage put out there so that you can refer, you can share with your people. And we've got the full program that was done with Yana Johnson, aka Tracy. You know, for some people might go, hold on, look like Tracy, you know. You know what I'm saying? But Yana Johnson, Yana I know her as, and it's funny how our community is real small, but it's really powerful to see. You know, it just a reason why I wanted to play this. It really contextualizes what we were going through as a people, as he's talking about the struggle at the time. So he himself, like my father-in-law, came over in the late teens, you know what I mean? And they've just faced a totally different world. And the scary thing is, and we're not even touching this subject, is that the ones that were born in Jamaica, raised by somebody else in the family, had different experiences, and they come over and struggled to settle with their family, with their parents. Imagine you don't know your dad. And then the worst thing is, he's expecting you to treat him as a dad. And you're going, there's no empathy. Yo, I'm your dad. You do what I say. I said, no, hold on. How are you my dad? And I don't know you. Is it? And that's a hard thing. And then you've got siblings that go, where you come from, big bro? I'm the boss over here. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And you had a generation that has died bitter. A generation that's watched their parents die, not solving this issue of coming over afterwards. And I feel that, again, a missed opportunity by the church to be a specialist in sorting this situation out. There should have been that specialist. I'm not saying all churches were like this, but I'm just seeing the fallout of hard people that's affected my generation, because our parents are struggling with them in themselves and how they parent. And then that falls out to be the issues that fall out to us into the next generation. Can't high divorce rates. Marriages just falling apart because of this continually bad habits that's rotating and not really going. That's what it is. This is what we're going to fight through. You know what I'm saying? And that's some of the things that identify. And a lot of times hearing the issues that the Maxi House was referring to. You know why we had to sing songs like we had to sing songs? We know we had to sing these songs to get through that moment. See what I'm saying? And that's what it is for me. I don't know, Kevin. I know you've been listening to some of the songs and whatever, but do anyone anything to say? Let me see. Can I get Charmaine to use, or which one can get close to?
The interesting thing about it, what I find fascinating, is that regardless of the church setting, the same spirit and energy is the same. The singing, yes, I was fascinated with the prophecy choir when they were singing "If We Could Hold On." I never heard that beat before, that musical treatment. That was fascinating. But in terms of the singing, would you agree, Charmin? It was powerful. They were passionate. I mean, they were singing like as if it's their last day in the business. There wasn't no saying, they were going for it. And that's what really, for me, impacted me so much. And even with the footage in your church, it was the same thing. People were singing like as if they mean business. It wasn't that they were just doing it for the sake of doing it. They were doing it because they're singing about a hope and anchoring about their future. And I think that's what's so fascinating about when you look at footage in the Black church. These memories in the Black church has really encouraged me as a person to go on.
Yeah, well, that's what we had to hold on to.
Listen, I'm sorry to say, ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't relate into the white church. I mean, they sing, yes, but I can't hear the spirit of it. There's a spirit behind in a Black church, both in America or Africa or whatever, is deep. It comes from their experience. It's coming. It's like centuries of their journey, and it's like it goes through our DNA. That's why we do what we do with such passion and deep.
Yeah,
I don't need. As the more I go on now, and as the me and Charmin and the things we're doing, it's not easy, but we see some things happening that we said, we just need to go on with this.
Yeah.
We can't stop. And this to me really actually inspired me. It really inspired me. Tell you.
There were so many different dynamics.
Yes,
though,
there's so many.
You had people who came over from the West Indies.
Yes.
They didn't know each other.
Absolutely.
But then they didn't have anyone else, so they decided to do life together. And then they created a family together. But it wasn't based on love. It was about companionship and protecting each other in this journey called life in a foreign country.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? And then they had children. And can you imagine your children growing up in an environment where it's almost like a business arrangement until they eventually start to fall in love with each other as parents?
Yeah. Yeah. I think...
so the children get that. They don't... That's their reference for what marriage is supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult.
This is quite interesting when it comes to marriage and relationship. There's a difference when you, as a man, when you've been taught how to really aspire and chase for a woman. There's a difference than actually being recommended to someone. Recommendation is different. Arranged marriage. Recommendation. When you actually aspiring to get a woman, just like how when you look at some of the or look at some of the characters in the Bible where they actually was willing to sacrifice everything to get this woman. One of them married the sister and discovered that it was the sister. Okay. And he went out of his way to get the woman, the second sister that he wanted. Mm-hmm. There's a difference in love when a man is aspiring to get a woman that he loves than one that's recommended. Because two different things. Because your life is actually sold to that woman, where you become passionate.
She's under your care.
She's under your care, and you understand it. You understand it different than when somebody, I'm recommending, okay, you might experience some form of love, but it's not the love that we're talking about. It
doesn't start out as love. It's like that's a face that's like mine.
Yes,
they come over here at the same time. And it's the fear of being alone.
The fear of being alone.
So you come together and think, well, okay, let's support each other and walk this journey together because we're in a place we don't know.
Yes, exactly.
And then you have an agreement to be committed to that situation.
That's right.
And raise a family.
Yeah.
And be in this country. It's like weird. But then when the children come along, what do they see? And then you've got a church that have families like this in that church.
Yes,
when they come together as a community, it's like a lot of people with the same kind of thing and the matter-of-fact way in which the children have to exist in that environment. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's not...
Yeah, I've only known... it's like
not
my
the passion
parents,
thing.
Yeah.
It's the practical thing.
Yes. It's only I can actually testify to this, that there's only my uncle, my late uncle Enos Gordon, and my dad, and a few other people I know that were not, they were passionate about their wives. That was the difference, and I could tell the difference. And those who were just going to a practical, you could actually see it. There was, we were struggling, we were together and so on, and we have to carry this on. And sometimes it affects their children, actually. And you're right, because there's nobody teaching about actually chasing after that woman. That's what you're designed to chase and cover her, to protect her, to pray over her, and do all those things. This is a different dimension of love and relationship than actually going to the practical arrangement. Yes, we're together and we're doing this because of shared duty. Shared duty is one thing, but when it hasn't got the depth of passion and love, it's another thing.
Yeah, it takes a certain level of submission from one or the other.
Go on.
So eating it out, that you find is that a lot of times the churches were full of women. But yeah, there's a lot of women were in churches.
Yes,
You know what I'm
that's right.
saying?
Yeah.
And they had partners that neither were their husbands that weren't going church as
Yes.
well still. And it's like they almost became their family. Churches become
Yes.
their replacement. We're not replacement family, but you know, there'll be an integral part. Their sisters will be there, and they'll be going through their struggles at home with
Yes,
the church.
yeah.
And it became their space of escaping situation, which is really bad for them at home. And it could be not bad, but it just when you got a community which doesn't. And don't get it twisted. This is not something that I would say that we're the only people that struggle. And hopefully people don't watch this and think we're just saying it out there. We're only people that struggle. But the thing is, we came through a situation where people still don't recognize as a struggle. You know, because if they do, they'll cost the world a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know
they
what I'm
don't
saying?
understand the dynamics.
So every time we get spoken to, whether it's from the African unslaved to the Europeans, just when you see situations and they go, oh, give it up now. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they're saying, sometimes I find that, you know, within the gospel community, it's like, okay, why is Roger on this gospel, this gospel of black origin tip or this tip of empowering black people? Okay, give it up now. Things are better now. No, they're not.
They don't. It's because they don't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
They don't want to be bothered to get to understand, and they don't want to empathize because the system's not set up that way. It's set up for us to fail. So we as a community do need to support each other and have that that network where you can address certain different scenarios, because it has a knock-on effect on the children, their understanding of community, of family, and where there's a divide in the church. Well, where there's a divide in the hope, there's going to be a divide in the church. And that's the Satan's plan, isn't it? So we, as a people, need to understand each other's dynamics. We need to understand the different types of dynamics within this whole story of the Windrush generation, because a lot of people are operating from a place of necessity, a place of trauma that's not addressed, a place of survival, a place of making do, a place of submitting to circumstances that was out of their control, in order for them not to have to suffer by themselves. And then you had the other dynamic where because the men couldn't get work, the jobs that they needed in order to support their family situation, resorted to other things, and then you got women being abused, and sent out to they had the blues parties and all this stuff and pimping out and all that. And I'm not saying this to be horrible, it's a fact. We know this part of history, isn't it? That's how they survived. And, black women still go through a lot to this day in terms of respect, appreciation, value, and in Africa, it might be something completely different where they're held in higher esteem, depending on where you come from.
Which tribe,
Because some don't, But the importance of the black female is underrated in this country. She's always got to be fighting against something, and until we come together and appreciate each other, it will always be a problem.
I am so when I talk to a lot of females.
Sorry, bro.
When I talk to a lot of female in the church, I'm actually sometimes horrified when they tell me something privately, what happened with them, with their husbands or the men that they actually encountered. And I'm saying to myself, obviously, these men weren't really taught how to really take care and reverent, respect their wives. Because my understanding of the scripture, you're supposed to be covering her physically, emotional intelligence, sexually, and through prayer. There are about 5 or 6 very key things you're supposed to be doing for her. But sometimes there's only 2 things that the man is doing, you know? And this is not a very isolated thing. There's a lot of our black sisters that's gone through that for the decades. Yeah.
And I think that what was and I think again, there's scenarios where we still haven't really got great support frameworks within our spaces when it comes to marriage, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to physical health. We've been here for 50 years and not having support frameworks in place. We should have the biggest music school in the world. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And we don't even have one of them. And that shows you the -10 of not only of our situation, of our mindset is why we are where we are. What do we do from here? What we have to do first and foremost is to understand how we got here. And this is the only way for me UK gospel can go forward, is to understand, because that's where it really started. There were groups that came to this country. These books have talked about gospel groups coming to this country as invited guests, but not a community. You know what I'm saying? The first community that came here, I wouldn't say invited, conned, into coming here was the West Indian community in the 50s, going into the 60s, and that brought over the gospel music of black origin. That's when the black origin came forward, not as a performance, but as a culture. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's time now that we document and lift up the area. And I know the likes of myself and Kevin, we be doing talks about this for a while. Me see myself do ReCounted. Charmaine and Kevin are going to be working on projects, really helping to document right now what's happened with people that trailblaze and so on, and celebrate that. We got our dear sister Juliet doing it, the wall of fame, the online, we saluting people. And what I will say to everybody who is, and I'm working with GRP and hopefully Queen's College in documenting not only stories of music, but stories of the Windrush generation and contacts. But guys, one thing that I may sound kind of weird, I want everybody to document. I want everyone to put down, myself working with GMI, because everybody has to write down, because it's something that I can't see, which Charmaine can see. And something that I can see that Charmaine can't see. You know what I mean? They didn't know about Old Band and Salvation. You know what I mean?
This is one thing. This is one thing that fascinates me, and I love Janet. Really, I really love Janet, because Janet really, she said something. Yeah, she said something to me that really touched me, because I didn't realize that we were so close. Because I used to go around to the Boots and so on, all those people where she used to visit, and sometimes I wonder. I said to Janet sometimes, Janet, you sure that we never used to meet each other when we were young? Because it's like as if we go to the same place. I know her, I know Maureen, I know this and that. Sometimes I'm not surprised if I didn't pass Charmin on the road, because we're all in the same sort of, because Charmin said, I know this person. I said, I know that person. I said, I wonder who else you know that I know.
Well, what about the fact that we're actually, your cousin's married to... Your cousin is married to my cousin.
Yes, that's
so
crazy.
Elliott is married to a Tomlin.
They're married to a Tomlin. That's how close. Do you see? And we just found out. I just found out a few months ago, and I was looking at my cousin and I said, "You're joking. You are related to the Elliots?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "No wonder you look so good. Jesus, no wonder your mother looks so attractive." Because her mother was beautiful. She was so beautiful. And my cousin was a tall, elegant, 6-foot hard man. So you know what I'm saying? Jesus Christ. So I'm saying, Lord, maybe there's a reason why we're so close to each other, and we just have something in common, And that's why I said to myself that I'm very concerned about two things: about creating very solid and good relationship to actually preserve what we have, because it's so rich. I was telling my daughter about something about my life, and she said, "Dad, I don't really know about your culture and experience." I said, "God, you have to sit down, because if I start telling you, your mouth would be wide open." The journey, the journey.
And
Because-
we as people
Yes.
have a tendency of keeping things to ourselves. It's a very prideful culture.
Yes,
because
it is
of
actually. It has-
sometimes the shame
Yeah.
of past or experiences that they don't want to share with their children, so their children don't think less of them or think that them weak, or even make their children feel like they're being given an excuse to not try.
Yes, that's right.
To
Yes, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
But listen, we have to close. Listen, man, we're getting into some deep stuff. But these are the things now. What I want to do, guys, now, apologize. We're going to deep place. I'm like, come on, let's tear it up. But these are all the conversations that we want to trigger. And it triggers healthy conversation, and it's a conversation that we're not going to leave for another decade, because God doesn't know if we'll be here for another decade. So this is where we want to deal and want to talk and deal with it right now as we do it. So something that I want to close on this subject. My friend of mine, I asked her if she could say, because when you hear your grandparents and hear about this grip, that the people used to wear. So I just want to show people what a grip looked like. So somebody, Annette B, her dad took a video of her where we are. Yeah. But what I am going to do, guys, on this closing note, you know what I'm saying? To be honest, I'm going to play this video, and I might just flip into that, the one at the prophecy, when they did the improvise. I'm going to finish on that, because I think that's real cool to finish on that. But one thing I want to do is definitely play this video once again done by Clovis Constantine Salmon. He's a videographer who just died the other day, OBE. He worked very closely with Janet, who that I work with Jeremiah and Kevin that works with Jeremiah Weiss. Lovely lady, amazing singer. One of these people that just again, like a Charmin, you just get understated for what you've done in UK gospel, and you know what I mean, and you just do what you do. You know what I mean, you're not looking to elevate yourself. But Janet, she did message me when she was watching it. She's on my case now. She wants to know, where did I get that footage from? Because she's seen herself, she's seen her mom, and she's burst out in tears. And you know what I'm saying? It's emotional. Yeah.
Because I remember I keep on remembering those important events, and it was bringing me to tears when I saw Janet. I said, God, that was what life was in those days. Yeah. When we're getting ourselves together, we're going on those transit vans, trips, and convention. And I said, that just...
Yeah, man. And, it's something that we keep 100. So I'm going to play that track, and then what we're going to do... Sorry, we're going to play that video, because I think that really emphasizes the Windrush generation. And shout out, I'm going to put links to that. I'm not claiming that footage at all, but I know I've had to play that footage just to really contextualize. God knows why I bumped into it 2 days ago. You know what I mean? And I just did because I did a little research. I've only had the footage out there for a show reel to download. So this is the show reel of all his footage. Wow. He's got to be, you know what I'm saying? So you can imagine what footage he has. So we're gonna look into that, and encourage everybody to document. Do hit us up here at GL360. We are looking at documenting also with GMIA. Do contact us as well. So both, you can just hit me up, people. Just hit me up, because there's a number of projects, West Midlands wise and nationally, that I'm involved with. And if you're saying, Roger, you sound like you're doing too much, no, I feel that there's no better time than now. You've got a healthy body. But also what I do find, and with myself, it's very easy for us in a community just to recluse and take care of your own project. If I specialize, I can bring something to the table working with GMIA, I will do that. That's my gifting. And also, I know that Charmaine and Kevin, you'll see a lot more over the next month or two when it comes to the International Gospel Summit, which I'll be working with and working towards promoting. I'm doing all the things for have a true lasting legacy, because now it's time, not for the artists to direct the industry, but for the industry to be created by industry people. You know what I'm saying? And part of that is to document and lock in where we're coming from. And that's going to be the way forward. So let's have a look at this video. And again, and then we go back to the impromptu vibes. You know what I'm saying? And we get closer. But guys, thank you again for coming up here, man. You know what I'm saying? I have to say thanks, man. It's just been blessed, man.
It's a real pleasure. And it's just fuel us more to actually continue what we're doing. Because we realize that it's significant for our children. We have to do it. We have to honor our forefathers and what they did. As hard as it may be, we have to honor our forefathers and their contemporaries because they sacrifice. I repeat the word, they sacrifice. Just to bring in a little crib. Just bring in a little, and did so much. Yeah. Remember this, that's all, that was their world, you know. And they did so much.
It's so important for this generation.
We've got to understand that. We've got to understand that,
For just so that we can build strong leaders, especially amongst the young men of this generation. They need to know, especially
what their granddad was, what their great granddad was,
what they endured, and
what they did
to pave the way.
Yes.
You know,
don't belittle what you think they've done, and we belittle too much of what they're doing.
And nothing good comes easy. It's not an instant thing. You know, it takes hard work. And
I think this is another thing. This is another thing to understand as well, that these men and women were men and women of character. We've got to understand that they were built. They had a foundation and a commitment to fight to the end. They were strong. They were men and women of courage.
Yeah, man. And if in listening to the songs, guys, it was a fight. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It was a fight, and they knew at the end of the fight they were taken care of, heaven bound. You know what I'm saying? You know, so it was almost a kamikaze approach. Like, listen, brethren, you're not stopping me because I know even if you stop me in body, in spirit, you can't stop me.
Right. Can't stop me.
Right.
Wow, that's how they live. That's how they live life, man. Yeah. That's how they live by. But listen, I'm gonna play this video once again.